Okay then, so we're back at the shop again today, and I've actually managed to pick up a second Holley rebuild kit. The first one that we had sent through was not the right type for this type of carburetor, so unfortunately we couldn't use this one. Ordered a new one. It came in from the States earlier today. So let's open up the package and see if we have the right one for this type of carburetor. So everything seems to look right, but okay, so this one's not in a separate box. This one came from Allstate Carbs, but just looking at what's in the package there, straight away we can see things like we've got the right sized gasket, we've got the two sort of valves that we were looking for before. I think this one's the right one for the type of carburetor we've got. So the carburetor we're working with today is a Holley R8404. And yeah, it's a 4-port carburetor. So let's get you back down, have a quick look at what we've got on the bench here, and then we'll see about getting this thing put back together so we can get it back on the boat. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the carburetor laying here. I gave it a bit of a sandblast and a clean up. This could probably do with a bit more of a polish. I could probably use a Dremel actually and give that a bit of a clean out, although it is pretty clean. So that's just a bit of corrosion in there. I'm not too worried about getting this like super shiny and back to factory condition. I don't think that's really necessary. I've already put the jets back in. They were cleaned out and blown through. So it's really a case now of sort of putting back together the top end of this carburetor, getting all the fuel pump and things back in there and getting everything back together. So we have on the bench here all the different components. You can see we've got the floats, we've got our little needle valves. Now these ones we can actually replace. So if I have a look in our kit, I'm just going to move the carburetor to one side for a minute and just lay that down there. Let's have a quick look inside the kit and see what goodies they've provided to us. So straight off, there's our top gasket. It's a little bit crimped there, so I have to go careful when we put that back together, but that's good. So that's all in there. We've got the bottom end gaskets as well, and what I'm looking for is these two valves here. So these are the ones that are going to replace these. So we'll put new ones in there, and you can see they come with the proper washers and things. There's a fiber washer on the top there that we're going to be replacing. So we'll get those set up first, I think. These ones are obviously to replace. I'll just move that gasket out of the way so we don't damage it. On the opposite side there, these are to replace these two. So we'll put new valves in there as well. So they're little pressure valves. So that's all good. And obviously we've got new ones of these, which is really useful because this one, if you remember, was absolutely mashed from before. So it's a real mess. So be glad to get that one cleaned up and changed. Okay, so first things first, let's get these back together. Then we can put our float bolts back in. Actually, no, before we do that, let's unscrew these and swap these two out. So I'm going to use my adjustable wrench again on the carb. Let's get that opened up. Just about fits. They're not in very tight. So we'll unscrew that one. Don't want to mix them up with the new ones. So let's get it unscrewed. And okay, it doesn't look too bad in there. And that actually goes, I don't know if you can see underneath, goes right through to the other side. So I'm going to actually disregard that, move it out of the way. Let's get a new one in there. Is there a washer on there? There it is. On this one we've got a fiber washer. So let's have a look in our pack. And we'll do a swap for an old fiber washer for a new one. Pop that on there. And we will get that screwed back in down through there. Just make sure we get that threaded in properly. There we go. So we'll push that down. And I'm not going to over tighten it. I just want to nip it so it's tight enough. It will be compressing down on that washer. And a little bit more maybe. It's right on the end of this adjustable. So that one went in okay. Let's flip that round. Let's take this one out. And we'll do the same thing. I'll just double check. Oh, this one's a little bit dirty in there. Oh, that's okay. So yeah, fiber washer on that one. Move that out of the way. Let's get a new fiber washer for this one. And don't want to lose that. Lots of different pieces here, so really don't want to lose any of these new ones. That works okay. Pop that in, locate the thread, and we'll do that up. Okay. Just pop that around there. Same as before, I don't want to over tighten it, but I do want to nip it closed. That's good. Right, so that's back on. So while I've got it upside down, let's get these finished up. So we know that we need to replace these ones, and so let's double check. So this one's actually not that clean in there, so I'm going to give this a clean up before we start trying to reassemble it. I want this to go back on there nice and clean, so bear with me. I'm going to get some cleaning tools. We'll give this surface a nice clean off as well, and then we can put this back together so we know it's 100%. I think this one actually came off this side because there's actually some debris. I don't know if you can see on the screen there. There's a few bits of debris in there as well, so that one probably comes off that side. So let's turn that around that way, and I know which side we're working on. All right, let's get those cleaned up. Okay, so got our Dremel. I've got a nice little wire brush here. So I'm just going to tighten that on and just use that to give these ports a little clean. There we go. Nice. Now we just give these surfaces a bit of a polish as well. I'm not putting any pressure on this, it's very light. But just because of the speed it's whizzing around, it's cleaning this up nicely. And I'm not looking to sand it back or anything. I just want to make sure any loose debris is off. And we've got a clean mating surface for when we put these new gaskets back on. Yeah, this side's definitely better than the other side. So, I'm curious to know why one side of this carburetor was gunked up and rusty and horrible and the other side seemed to be okay. Must have been when it was last run. Okay. Let's turn that one off. Right, so pleased with those. Those have come up pretty well. That's nice and clean now. Right, I'm going to give this a clean though. This one's actually in pretty bad condition. This was the side that had all the debris in there, so let's see if we can get some of that gunk out, get that cleaned up. Okay, right then, so that's a lot better, as you can tell. Okay, so next thing is to get our new sort of valve flapper in there. And which way up does this go? Let's just check our instruction illustration. And we're looking for this piece, which is down here. So we have the spring goes into the top, which goes into the bottom. Obviously we've got this upside down, so we're going to flip that upside down. So the spring goes in first. Have a look at our spring. This is the spring that came off the grubby side, and I'm not overly keen on the shape and condition of this. It's a little bit dirty. So again, just going to move our carburetor out of the way for a second. Just going to use a simple wire brush. This is just stainless steel bristles. Let's just give that a bit of a clean, get any of that rust off that was on that spring. It's not too bad actually. Don't want to stretch the spring at all, but get as much of this rusty gunk off as we can. That's better. Makes a big difference straight away. Okay. Right, let's bring that back in. So what we're going to do is position our spring. So the spring actually sits in here and goes upside down. We got it the right way up. Now, I guess it shouldn't really matter. Let's just double check our diagram. Really show which way up it should go. Does it matter? No. It flips through the other way as well. So let's get our spring positioned in there. That goes over the top and pushes down. Bit of pressure on that. So this one, if you remember, is pushed by different levers and things that we have on the carburetor arms. So we need to make sure, I think it's that way up. So keep everything in alignment. Push that down. So then we need to put our screws back through. And we have the longer screws for this one and the shorter screws for the other side. So I'm just going to put a couple of these in, start to wind them in a little bit. Just keep a bit of pressure on the top of that plate. Make sure we're going through the gasket. Make sure we're going into the holes. There we go. Get them in the right position. Same on that one. A little bit fiddly. Ooh, oh, it's popped off again. Come on, why are you not screwing down through there? There we go. Trying to get them aligned is tricky, especially when it's got the pressure of the spring. It's only a little spring, but it's putting a fair amount of pressure back on there. Let's just wind those in a couple of turns. Just hold that down. I'm not going to push it down too tight at this stage. That's not in the right position. Try and find where the hole is. That's it, that's going in now. So wind that down. There we go, that's holding it now. It's got the pressure on there. Just going to do these up gently, and then once they're in position, we can tighten them up so that we've got even pressure around it. So that's one side. And before we do that, let's just double check. Is that going to... There we go. So that's moving the plate inside, and I can feel the pressure on it as well. So let's tighten that up. And always tighten opposite to opposite. Just try and keep that pressure even. Right, so that's that side done. Let's have a look at this side. So it'll be the same process again. I'm going to grab... There's our new plate. What do I do with that one? Replace that one. Have I lost one? Do we not have two? We should have had two. Maybe we only had one in the kit. Well, it's lucky this one's in good condition then. Let's just double check and make sure we've got another gasket, which we don't. Okay, so we're going to have to reuse this one. I'm glad it's actually in good condition. If you remember, one side was absolutely mashed. This side's not bad at all. So we're going to be reusing this one. Let's find our spring at this side. Pop that in there. And it'll be the same process again. So upside down. Oh, goodness me. There goes the spring. Wind that up. Yeah, that'll work. And we want the longer of the screws. So this one's got shorter screws for the whole thing. So now I wonder why we have... So I am going to stop for a second because I've noticed something quirky. Just pull this one back off again. So this one is very thin across here. This side is actually much, much deeper. You see the difference in those two? I want to make sure I'm getting them on the right side. So let's take a quick look at our diagram again. So I've got the, let's turn it so with the right way up to the diagram, which is that way. And I've got the larger ports, the secondaries, on this side. And the larger port has the deeper one, and the primary has the shallower one. So let's just make sure that's the... Okay, we have got them on the right side. That's a relief. So I might have to take that off again. So Same as before, let's get that lined up. And we're going to be winding in those screws. I really like using original gaskets like that, but it doesn't look like they've provided us with any new gaskets. There's definitely not new ones in there. So we have the ones, just going to tip these out so I can have a look. I'm bumbling away on the camera here. Yeah, see, we've got these ones, they're okay. But those ones, I guess they might do the job. Let's just have a look. I don't think they are though. I think they're got to be rectangular. Yeah, they're going to be rectangular, and I didn't put the spring in there, so it's lucky I did take that off. Right, okay, well, let's get this one just put back together. Put those screws back in. Okay, they're on. Right, these two. So we've got two covers. I've got this one and this one. I'm going to peel the gasket off the original one. Disregard that one. Give this a little bit of a clean. Easiest way to clean that off, nice bit of fine paper. Put it on a flat surface, and we're just going to give that a quick. A little bit of debris still on there. There we go. Okay, right, new gasket for that one. On there like that, and then up and over the top. Make sure everything lines up. Pop a couple of screws in. Make sure that holds in place. You can see we're basically reversing what we did to take this apart. Let's get those screws started. Now we just pull them down. Not going to tighten them up just yet. I just want to get everything in position, and then once we've got the lid down, we'll tighten those up a little more. Okay, right, so let's give that a little bit of pressure. Same on here. And on opposites. Wonderful. Okay, we'll do the same with this side. I've got a ball bearing here, and I'll talk about that one in a moment. So let's take the gasket off this one, and we'll disregard. And same again, let's give this a quick clean up. Lovely. Looking okay inside. Pop a gasket on there. And once again, is that the right gasket? So that one can go on there. And we'll pop some screws in those. Oh, missed completely. There we go. Okay, and we'll tighten those down, opposite to opposite. Okay, happy with that. Okay, so now we've got both sides done on the bottom of the carb. Let's flip it over And let's concentrate some effort up here on the top. So what we want to do is, let's go back to these valves. We need to basically remove the valve itself from the screw that's there, because we're going to replace it with one of the new ones. So let's just have a quick look at a new one here. You see how that works, and then on here that screws into this unit. Let's take that screw out of there. What's happening with this? Oh, look at that, I'm an idiot. They just slide straight in. So that goes into there. That's much easier. There we go. Oh, we've got a gasket on there. See, there's a little one. So let's pull that off. That's the original. We will disregard that one. And they're pretty tight. Oh, let's go for good old-fashioned razor blade. And we'll just ease that under. I want to take my fingertips off. That would be most unpleasant. There we go. Disregard that. Tiny bit left on there. So again, back to our sandpaper. Whip that off there. Lovely. Okay, so take our new one, slide it in from underneath, like so. Okay, it only goes in. See, there's these flattened edges, and it's got a little square section to it. So slide that into there. Take our screw that goes in the top, and we'll just tighten that up. I'll hold it in place. Okay, so there's one. Let's do exactly the same on the next one. Did I put? I didn't put. Oh, goodness. Didn't put the gasket on, did I? After doing all that, talking about the gasket, still didn't put it on. So let's grab our little gasket, and we'll pop that back in over the top. Okay, that's the one. Let's do the same with the second one. Now we know what we're doing with it. We'll undo the screw, pull the cap off, disregard that. We don't need that one anymore. And we're going to just take the gasket off that one. Again, he's on there fairly tight, so we'll just ease it up with a blade. There we go. Okay, disregard that. Tiny bit of debris there, same thing. Just clean him off. So it's not a difficult job to do. And this time, we will push our new valve back in. We'll put our gasket on this time. So a little washer. So it's just a fiber washer, really, not a gasket, but it does the same thing. Stops it from leaking. Right, so that's done too. So we've got two of those ready to go. So let's take a quick look and have a look and see what we need to do next. We do have a ball bearing that needs to go back in, and this comes on part of the fuel pump, and it stops the fuel from flowing back into the float bowl. So it basically blocks it off and stops it flowing back. I've still got a bit of cleanup, as you can see on here, so I'm going to give this a bit of a clean first, and then once that's clean and we're ready, we can do the top end stuff, put the trumpets back in, and we'll get this cleaned up. I think what I might do as well is just get the old Dremel out, and like I was doing with the wire brush, just give this bit of corrosion here a bit of a shine up. Not going to achieve very much with it, but you know, again, it's going back together nice and clean, so might be worth doing. Okay, right. That's a little bit cleaner. I did mention before about the ball bearing. Whereabouts did it go? Of course, I've probably lost it now. I do have a spare, which is good. So let's use the spare. So the ball bearing I talked about, just inside these two, there are little ports where we can put a ball bearing through. And what it does is it stops the flow of fuel coming back up into the float bowls if too much fuel is in there. So the ball bearing is actually still in that one. I can still see it. This one is missing. I'm just going to pop him back down inside. So that's ready now for reassembly. I did mention before that we have a bit of cleaning up to do on this one. So I'm going to grab the Dremel and we'll go for that. We'll get that cleaned up nicely. And then when you come back, we should be ready to reassemble the top section. Okay, I think we're about ready for reassembly. So first thing I'm going to do is get the floats set up, and if you recall, we've got one of these floats for each side. I'm going to get those popped into, oops, drop the pin out. So this is the hinge pin that goes through on each one. You can see there's a little wedge there that actually moves the valve up and down, these things up and down as they come through from the other side. So let's get those popped onto the top of our carburetor. Make sure they move freely. Do the same with the other one. Nice and clean. There's no cracks or anything. There's no holes in these, which is perfect. Slide that one through. There we go. Okay, so those two are ready to go. Next, let's get the trumpets in. If you remember when we took those off, just move our gaskets out of the way. When we took them off, we have the little pin that goes inside there, and we've also got a gasket that goes across here. So if I look in my gasket kit here, make sure we have the right one. So that should go across. So that one doesn't quite fit, so I think that's for the other side. Let's try different gasket, and there we go. It's a bigger size. Oh, wrong way around. Let's turn it over. Still the wrong way around. What am I doing wrong? There we go. There we go. Okay, so we've got that one. So they fit different ways around. And does that fit those holes? No. So this one belongs in this side. The actual, these, what you call them, these perforated tubes, jets, whatever, are specific to each side. They're different sizes. So that goes back on there. It's a bit grubby. You know what? Didn't recognize that before. There's no point taking it apart and then putting gross stuff back in. Let's pull that back off. Got a little gasket. We'll put a new one on there, new washer. Let's take that back off for a second. I'm going to give this little trumpet bowl thing, whatever it's called, a bit of a clean. Not happy about the amount of debris, and that's just basically caked on fuel, probably ethanol from the fuel that's been going through. So we'll give it a clean. No point in putting dirty stuff back on there. Okay, there we go. So I've given that a bit of a clean up with a wire brush. So same as we did before, let's get the gasket positioned. That's in the right place. We have our little bar that goes down. This is the thing that pushes down on the ball bearing that's down inside the little hole there. And this actually has a new gasket. See, there is a metal washer on that one. Let's grab one from our kit and we will replace that one. And of course, that's one of the ones that doesn't have a new washer. So we will reuse that one. I wonder if we can put a fiber washer beneath it. I bet we can. Oh no, there is one. There is a new metal washer. Get rid of that one. There goes the pin. There is a new metal washer. So let's put that nice shiny one on there. Right, so this one goes down inside there. And then this, making sure the bar doesn't drop out on the way, pops down inside there, like so. And we'll just tighten that down just with a big flat-headed screwdriver. So I don't need to over tighten it, we just need to make sure it's snugly fitting. There we go. Okay, right, same for the other side. Let's have a quick look. Didn't want to do that. Luckily, we can open the butterfly. So what I've just done is dropped the little bar in that doesn't belong in there. There's a ball bearing in there, so if I tip it up, I keep my finger over that. There we go. There's the offender. Right. You'd think I'd know what I was doing. Nope. Okay, let's try one of these smaller gaskets again. No, that's the long one. Where is the smaller one? That one? There we go. Right, smaller gasket goes on there like so. Slide that over the top. And then again, this one, let's take off that metal washer. Let's find a replacement one from our kit. Pop that on there. And then pop the little bar back in. The ball bearing's already in there. Pop that back into position. We'll tighten that one down. Okay, Right, now before we put anything back on the top, I want to make sure that these don't fall out, but I want to make sure we've got our gasket on there nice and neatly. So first things first, make sure it's the right way around. So we've got a squiggly edge and a straight edge. So let's turn that over, and this gasket's been laying funny in the box, so it's not quite flat, which is a bit of a nuisance. It's not a problem, but it's a bit of a nuisance. There's a bit of a ridge in this, and there's a ridge. Yeah, it's just a ridge on there, so it should actually push down into the center of the gasket, but I do need to make sure it's sitting in there neatly. So I'm going to get things set up first. So we've got our primary and secondary, so that's back to front. I'm just holding these floats up so they don't drop in. And they should be able to come straight down. Let's pop those down in there. And I'm pushing it onto the gasket super gently, trying to make sure it's neat all the way around. And then before I do anything, I'm going to make sure I can see that gasket all the way around there, because I don't want to crimp it by accident. I haven't put these in yet. We'll put these in afterwards. Right, okay, so I can see my gasket, everything's there and everything is good. Next step is to get some of these screws in to hold it in position. So again, a little bit of finagling just to make sure we can get through the gasket and onto the base. And I'm just doing this super carefully, so I don't want to go too nuts. Really don't want to damage the gasket in any way, or deform it or twist it, because that'll have fuel pouring out everywhere. And I really don't want to be putting out fires on my boat after going to all the effort of getting the damn thing running again. So get that neatly in there. Same in there. And I think we've got one more to go. Where's the next one? There he is on the back corner. Okay, now very much like the last ones, I'm just going to put these in and tighten them down a little way. Just move that forward a bit. So I'm not going to do them super tight. I just want to snug them in. And this gives me the ability then to check and make sure everything is sitting properly, that I've not got any big gaps, or where I'm screwing this in, maybe there's something trapped and it's keeping something up that shouldn't be. So I'm just snugging these down. And then once they're snug, I can rotate this around. I can look at it upside down, side to side, make sure that's as neat as it should be. So relatively simple carburetors, these. Actually easy to work on as well. Just a bit of a pain if you don't have the right kits to refresh them. Okay, nearly there. So let's just snug this one down as well. And I've got one on the outside, I think. Or did I do that one? No, I've done that one. Okay, right. So what I'm looking for is along this gasket line. Is there anything trapped in there that shouldn't be? Is there anything that's stopping it from seating neatly? Can I see the gasket deformed in any way? And it's looking good. Right, so pleased with that. Next job, I'm not going to snug them down just yet. I'm going to take one of these each. They're both exactly the same. I'm going to pop it into our carburetor. And again, I'm going to snug these down. At least I would do if I could get it to... Oh, it's got the rubber seals on there. So, did we put new... I don't think we did we? No, we didn't. So, can you see on here? Should have done this before we put it together. We've got fiber washers on here from the old ones, so I'm going to just slide those off. Again, just using a razor blade. Probably a better way of doing this that doesn't involve taking the tops off your fingers. So please find a safe way to do it if you're doing it. You can discard that one. Just give that a quick scrape off where there's a little bit left on. Yeah, I should have done this before I reassembled these, but you know, we are where we are. Okay, in our kit, we should have two larger washers. We do. Put a fiber washer back on there so it goes neatly over the thread. Now that can go down. Take a little bit of effort to push it down because there's a rubber. See the rubber washer there? There we go. That one's in there nice and neat. And let's do the same on this one. Let's take that old washer, fiber washer off of there. Okay, there we go. Just pop that off. And a little tiny bit left over there. Let's scrape that off, doing it away from the carburetor so we don't end up having to clean it out. Okay, find our new washer. Where's our new fibre washer? You're there somewhere, I saw you. There you are, hiding away. New fibre washer back on top, and we pop that into the other side. Again, a little bit of pressure to push it down so that rubber seal goes in. And we can tighten those down. Right, okay, so snug that one. Snug this one. And let's tighten these up. So what I'm going to do is opposites again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see I'm starting to move my way around. 5. This one, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're good. Okay, next, let's get the, what should we put on next? Oh, center pin. This thing that caused us all that grief trying to get it apart in the first place. So this goes right the way down inside and basically connects the top to the bottom and secures this gasket in the middle. It's pretty clean already, so I'm just going to slide that back down and in. It should find its way into the gasket, which it is, and we're just going to wind that in. So it doesn't need to be too tight, but I'm just going to snug it. There we go, just snug that down. So that's providing center pressure on the middle here. There's a bit of gasket showing there, which is good. We've got the gasket all the way around. Top section is now on. Okay then, so let's see if we can get our automatic choke back on there. So electronic choke. So if I bring this back over, if you remember, we've got the big 3 bolts with their washers on there. Now before we even get that positioned, because those are going to fall off, so I'm just going to pull those out, we need to get this rod through. And if you recall, it came up underneath through this section here, and there was a little rubber sort of mounting, give that a bit of a wipe off, just to hold it in position. So that needs to go back in, and I'm guessing it goes in that way there. Now how do I get that to go through? Okay, so I think I've got it the right way up. It's actually got a bit of a shape on there that fits into the carb itself, and that guide lines up with the hole. So let's go with that. What we're going to do is just feed this through. If you remember, it's on a bit of an angle, so we're going to post that through the hole, hopefully. There we go, a little bit of finagling. There's a funny shape. And see if we can hook that into this arm here, which I believe we can. Oh, missed it. Let's try that. Okay, that's through the arm. Right, so that's in position. So next thing I need to do is just get those spacers on, and then I will get this screwed into position. So let's see if we can get one in position first. And just get everything lined up where it needs to be. Oh, drop the spacer. Knew I would. Okay, let's try and pull that back out again. There we go. So I'm going to get one spacer onto there, and once that's in, just put a couple of turns on there to hold that one. Okay, then I can grab our next spacers, and I don't know if you can see, it's very awkward. What we're trying to do is get these spacers in where these screws are, so that's what I'm going to have to just slide on. And there we go. So let's get a couple of threads on that side. Yep, very tricky to get in there, but we can do this. Why is that one not going in? There we go. Okay, a couple of threads on that one, and then final spacer onto this top one. So we just back that screw out, put our spacer in, and then put some threads on there as well. Okay, so that's good. These connectors as well, when I had it apart, I gave those a quick clean. Can't remember if that was in our last video. So let's give those a quick screw down. I'm not going to take the automatic choke, the electronic choke apart. It was actually working quite nicely, so it doesn't seem prudent to be dismantling it for no reason. So the only thing I did do was clean up those connectors, and I believe that the corrosion that was on there might actually have caused us a problem down the road, so probably better to do it now while it's apart. There we go. Okay, very nearly there. So that's on nice and tight. Okay, right. There we go. So automatic choke is back on. We've got our primary circuit, got our secondary circuit, got our valves in. Just got the fuel rail to go back on. I'll bring this back through. So again, just check and make sure it's okay. Make sure we haven't got any corrosion or damage. It's looking good. That slides into each of those ports and should sit comfortably. And then what we're going to do is just get a couple of threads on there. And then we'll make sure this one is also going in. Just want to make sure it sits in there nice and neat. Get that on a couple of threads as well. It's looking good. So tighten those up a little bit. I'm going to use the 2 spanners like I did before. So we'll get one just to hold that side, and then we'll get the other one that can go on. Just nip that tight. Same on this one. And we'll just might take a couple of turns on here, and we'll just don't want to overdo it. There we go, nice and tight. So that's ready to go. So we've done everything we need to do on the fuel system on the top side of this. Didn't do anything with the automatic choke, and I'm okay with that. That was all working fine. All the leverage and things, there was no leaking or anything from around there. What we did do is change the rubber and this, where this had a lot of gunk in there, and I suspect it was actually stopping fuel from getting through where it should do. Replaced all the gaskets on the bottom here. That's now ready to go back together. Now the only other gasket I've got is this one. This one actually goes on the base like so. So when we put it back onto the boat, it will seal up properly and make sure that we don't get any fuel leaks or any vacuum, any air that comes in where it shouldn't do. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm going to leave that over the top just so I don't forget it. This one, this gasket actually goes over the top there, and then when we put our air arrestor on the top to stop for sparks and things, that will go on top of there. And you'll notice that these 2 tubes here are curved right down. The idea behind that is that if there's any excess fuel, it dumps it into the engine, which will flood the engine and kill it. So unlike a car where these usually come up or are cut off at an angle, on a marine carburetor, they curve right down. You can't actually swap, well, you could swap and use a car carburetor on a marine engine. That will work and it'll do everything you need it to. But if there's ever a fuel problem and the fuel doesn't cut off, it will just spray inside the air accumulator and possibly come outside the carburetor, which on a confined space on a boat is not a good idea. So this will actually dump excess fuel into the engine, kills the engine, stops the engine from operating. Then you know you've got a problem rather than an explosion. So I'm going to leave those together. Next step is put this back onto the boat, and I'll show you that in the next segment.